Hello everybody and welcome to a new Unity 2D tilemap tutorial. In the first video of this series I explored the Robodash demo game that came along with Unity's recent unofficial 2D tool release. In the follow-up video I talked a bit about how to build your own custom brush and tiles using this toolset. After that I wanted to explore in more depth how to add additional features to the tilemap design. So I decided to let go of the demo game for this video because I realized the more I tried out my own tilemap code, the more I messed up the code of the demo project. I needed only half of the original code for experimenting and even did not understand some of the rest. For this reason I created my own character in tilemap in order to try out some new features I thought to be interesting for me and you. Good and important news is that meanwhile the tilemap tool has become part of Unity's July beta version. So while all the assets I use in this video should work with previous preview versions too, I recommend to download the beta instead. So today I would like to show you how you can create a destructible landscape with your tiles and brushes. I started with some basic classes from the Robodash game and added the very reliable 2D character controller from the Bastian Lakes tutorial, which you can find in his YouTube channel. This combination gave me a good and clean base for building my own classes on top. Okay, let's get started by creating a clean, new 2D project in Unity. After that, you copy the folders I provided under the download link below into the assets folder. The scripts in the script folder will create menu entries for one brush and 4 different tiles. By clicking the menu entries one after the other, you will create the respective brush and tiles we need for painting the destructible terrain. If the menu items do not show up at once, please right-click in the project folder and select Refresh. Then look in the Assets Create menu again. The first menu item I select is the rock tile. It creates the respective tile in the tiles folder. This asset automatically loads all the single sprites from a texture called rocks from the resources folder. If you want to learn more about scripted tiles, please watch my previous tutorial on this. Because of the script that lays behind, this tile will automatically adapt its form depending on neighbor tiles while you paint on the tilemap. The same goes for the destructed terrain tile I will create in the next step. It will paint beneath each rock tile and will adapt its form according to the surrounding tiles as well. The only difference between both tiles are the sprites that are used in each so-called slot and the corresponding tilemap on which we will use them later on. That's why I created a parent class for these tiles called terrain tile. Next we need 2 similar kind of tiles which inherit from another parent class called random tile. We click on the menu entry bomb marks tile in the Asset Create menu to place the first tile in the tiles folder. For the bomb marks tile, set the sprite size to 3 and drag in the first 3 sprites from the texture called bomb marks in the resources texture folder. Finally, set the probability value for each sprite to 1. Similar process goes for the ground tile. You simply click on the menu entry ground tile in the Asset Create menu and again select the first 3 sprites from the ground texture in the resources folder and drag them in the 3 slots you created. Again, set the probability value to 1 for each sprite. And now we're done with creating the tiles. Finally, we can create the rock brush from the Assets Create menu for our landscape and drag in 3 of the tile prefabs we just created in each of the corresponding slot, which are the rock tile, the destructed terrain tile, and the ground tile. So in this step we have created all the tools we need to paint some destructible terrain. We continue by creating a palette on which we can place tiles and brushes to paint on the scene. In the tile palette window, click on Create New Palette, give it a name and save it in a folder of your choice. First thing we do with our new palette is to drag in the ground tile we created before. If you now click on the drop down below the palette window, you will find our rock brush. And if you click on the brush, you will see a note that the scene is not yet prepared for painting. Pressing the button below will create a new scene that contains a main grid with 3 tile maps, a player, a camera and a game manager object, as you can see in the hierarchy on the left. The script initializing the scene is the brush editor utility script placed in the brushes editor folder. I took it out of the Robodash demo and simplified it for our purposes. The 3 tile maps in the inspector correspond with the tiles we created before. The main difference, however, is the layer, which determines the order of each tile map on the screen. And the rock map additionally contains a tile map collider, which allows our player to collide with its tiles. Now we have everything combined to start painting a terrain for the player. We have a palette, the brushes and the tile maps to draw on. Let's start by filling the ground map with our ground tile. Please make sure to use the default brush, the ground tile, and select the ground tile map for this. The random ground tile, which consists of 3 sprites we put in there, gives the ground at least a bit of variation. And now we can use our rock brush to paint on the rock map some structures which are located above the ground map. Now you can either start by simply painting on the rock tile map and create your structures one after the other by using the rock brush. Or, and this is the more convenient way for me, you can paint by filling an area with rocks and erasing the parts where you want to show walkable ground instead by clicking on the eraser tool in the tilemap window. The cool thing about the rock brush is that it simultaneously paints on 2 layers. If you disable the rock tilemap in the inspector for a second by clicking the checkbox in the upper left, you will see that we have painted the destroyed terrain structures on the layer below as well. This saves a lot of time, I guess, because of not having to paint or erase everything twice. If you're happy with your terrain, you should save the scene in a folder of your choice. Last thing we have to do in this step is to select the bomb prefab from the prefabs folder and drag into the bomb mark slot of the bomb script the bomb mark tile we created earlier. This will place some different bomb marks on the dirt map after the bomb has exploded. If you now start the scene and your player is placed on a ground tile, you should be able to walk around and place some bombs by pressing the X key, which should explode shortly after. The final part of this tutorial consists of a detailed look at the scripts that place bombs and destroy the rocks. I will not deal with the character controller here, as there are a lot of tutorials on this topic available. Same goes for the camera controller. The ones I used are both basic and need some improvement for 2D tilemap games. This is for sure. First, have a look at the bomb placer script I put on the player game object. Whenever you press the X key, the player script raises an event to which the bomb placer script has subscribed. The place bomb function plays a quick sound and calls the create object function. In the create object function, a new bomb game object is instantiated at the player's position. To avoid an overlay of player and bomb game object, I calculate the mask index, which checks the kind of neighbor rock tiles next to the player. Once the bomb game object is initialized, its animation will start to play. In one frame of the explosion animation, an event is raised. The explode function on the bomb script will respond to this event. It will play the explosion sound and move the sprite renderer to the background, so the explosion sprite is no longer part of the visible scene. After that, the bomb script calls the reveal tiles function from a static instance of the reveal map class. This class is located on the game manager object, which we created by pressing the initialize scene button on the rock brush. The reveal map class creates a single instance of itself, so other classes can easily access its public functions. Currently, the only purpose of the reveal map class is to delete a certain number of rock tiles around the bomb game object, and afterwards place a bomb mark on the dirt map at the location where the bomb exploded. So I guess that's it for my part. If this tutorial gave you some inspiration on how to proceed with Unity's tilemap system, please give me a quick thumb up, subscribe, and I promise I'll be back again with more tilemap stuff. Cheers!